In this episode of Weekly Poker Hand, Frankie from Next Gen Poker, which is one of my absolute favorite poker video blogs, they're also huge on TikTok, he has to decide if he should bluff an opponent on the river who has decided that he wants to be internet famous. Good luck with that. Let's see how it goes.
Again, I'm going to have to set the scene. There are a lot of live tells that go on, so our editor, Knock, is going to play them all for you. +1 calls 5, cutoff raises to 30, the small blind player calls 30, and listen to what he says.
That's my better judgment. He's too party with the nuts.
Okay, I look down at ace-jack offsuit in the big blind, and I want to put in a squeeze here against what should be some pretty loose ranges. And again, I'm going to put that cutoff player in a tough spot with a 3-bet. I make it 130 to go.
So it goes limp 30 call. Out of position in this scenario, playing about $1,300 deep, which is 200 something big blinds, 250 big blinds, I would have definitely raised bigger. Typically, you want to make roughly a pot size re-raise when you are out of position, and a pot size re-raise would be 3 times the last bet, which was $30, plus any additional money in the pot. So 3 times 30 is 90, plus the 30 initial raise, so up to 120, plus the blinds and antes, which is 130. But when you're out of position, you usually want to go one unit larger. And in this scenario, the unit is really big. The unit is $30. So 130 plus 30 would be something like $160 in this scenario, because really, you don't care if your opponents fold and give you the pot before the flop. And if they do want to splash around with all sorts of nonsense, that's okay too. If you do re-raise to something like 160 and somebody re-raises you, easily fold the ace-jack. The problem with going 130 is that we're going to get called a ton, and we're often going to be out of position, which is not really what you want to have happen. So I would usually go a little bit bigger in this scenario. Make sure you add one big unit when you're out of position.
Under the gun folds, cutoff folds, and the small blind player makes the call.
So this is actually about the best scenario we could hope for, because the player's in position folded against us and the player out of position called, which is great. Now it's as if we are in position against a range that's probably pretty marginal because it did not re-raise before the flop itself.
And then he says this.
I want to be internet famous, so I'm going to call. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm going to give all of you a little bit of a read right here. Most people don't get internet famous by folding. Okay.
Everyone loves the let's go lines. Flop comes 6, 5, 8, 2 spades, checks to me, and I want to deny equity against all the 2 random cards he can have. Although I hate this bet on a board I normally would check. I put out a tiny bet of $80. The small blind player calls, and he talks again.
It's a small price to pay to be famous.
Yes.
It's a small price to pay to be famous, only $80. I completely agree with Frankie that you probably just want to check it back on this flop. This flop is awful. It's so easy for the small blind in this scenario to have some sort of a hand with equity, either a flush draw, straight draw, overcards with backdoor flush draw, whatever. He could also just have a hand like pocket nines, right? So I think you probably just want to check back this flop and give up, especially if you think your opponent's going to be a little bit call happy. Now, that said, I don't mind a small bet in this scenario, because when you bet small, if your opponent just has nothing, he's probably going to fold and give you the pot, which is great. And every once in a while, he will call the hand like King 9 and then check it down and you'll win. So I don't mind a small bet, but I probably would have just checked it back in this scenario, given the reason the opponent wants to be internet famous. But let's see how that goes.
Sir, you are going to be famous today. The turn comes the 5 of clubs. Now there's 2 clubs and 2 spades. He checks to me. I check it back.
All right. Continuation bet, flop, call, check, check, turn. I think this is fine, good, very reasonable. We beat all the draws at this point. If the small blind has an 8, he's just not going to fold. If he has a 5, he's not going to fold. If he has an overpair, he's not going to fold. And if he does have a draw, he may not necessarily bluff it on the river. And we can just go check, check, and win a lot of the time. So I think this is a pretty reasonable spot to just let it go check, check, and hope to win at the showdown. If you thought you could somehow make your opponent fold out an 8 with a big turn bet, maybe that gets some value, but I don't think most people are going to be folding after they've announced they want to be internet famous. So just check it down and try to realize your equity with your junky marginal made hand. Good check.
The river is the king of diamonds, a great card for me, and listen in one more time.
I'll check. You got me.
He says that I got him, but my hand is not good enough to win, so I either can check it back here or go for the Hail Mary.
Given all the talking that Frankie's opponent has done throughout this hand, do you think that Frankie should go for the bluff on the river? Let me know in the comment section down below. Oh, this is a tough one because in this situation, it's very easy for the opponent to have an 8, right? And when the opponent announces you got me, what in the world does that mean? What in the world does that mean? I'm just trying to sit here and figure out what does that mean. Maybe it means nothing. It probably means something, but it may mean nothing. And the tough part about trying to figure out what live reads mean among players you don't know is that people have different tendencies that mean the exact same thing, or the same tendency that means very different things, right? And it's very difficult to figure out exactly what is going on. Maybe he's trying to induce us to bluff. Maybe he is just straight giving up. Who knows? I doubt people typically say very clearly on the river, I cannot win. Because if you couldn't win, why wouldn't you just like muck his hand, you know? When you're lining up these chips. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. The question becomes, do we need to bluff this hand in general? Ace-Jack when it comes 8, 6, 5, 5, king, and all the draws miss. And I don't think we need to. I think we just have some hands that can easily check it back. And like this hand right here can check it back and still win. And we definitely have some worse hands in this spot. I think like Queen Jack suited, Jack 10 suited, that maybe we re-raise before the flop, although maybe we don't re-raise those before the flop. It's always important to really consider what your range looks like, because this very easily could be one of the worst hands in our range. If this is one of the worst hands in our range, then bluffing at least becomes a consideration. But I think in this scenario, most people aren't going to fold an 8 or 5 or pocket 9s or better. And if he does have a busted draw, we win anyway. So I think I would have just checked this one. Let's see what Frankie does and if he gets away with it.
And I decide to go for the deep pass. I make it $300 US to go.
I think you rivered me, but I'm gonna give it to you. Just a pair. You got me.
Ace king.
He calls with a 6. A bad bluff catcher.
Oh yes!
Oh yes! 6-4 offsuit, takes it down. The opponent was not kidding that they were going to splash around and get internet famous, and well, the opponent just got a little bit more internet famous today, and Frankie got kind of sad. That's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Weekly Poker Hand. If you did, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe buttons down below. Also, make sure you check out Next Gen Poker. They have an amazing video blog, and they do awesome work. And they're not afraid to show you their bluffs. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Hope all your bluffs get through. And I'll talk to you next time.